Whether they were overambitious, disappointing, or just plain bad, these games were responsible for the end of their once proud creators.
So you trust him? I don't know about that.
Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we'll be looking at our picks for the top 10 video games that ruined their companies.
I know your kind.
For this list, we're looking at games that either performed so poorly critically or took such a serious financial or commercial hit that they left their publisher or developer in a disastrous condition.
Miss Croft, I strongly suggest that you talk to the police.
Number 10, LA Noire, Team Bondi.
May we come in? We have some bad news and we'd rather discuss this in private.
First off, this is not a bad game. It presents a stylish, in-depth story with cutting-edge graphics and animation, but the toll it took on Australian developer Team Bondi cannot be overstated.
He's been trying to ruin my business for years!
Beginning development in 2004, the neo-noir had its overall style changed several times, along with switching from a PS3 exclusive to multi-platform release.
This is America, it's not Germany. It's not a crime.
The advanced engine that Team Bondi was responsible for stunted development time, so publisher Rockstar eventually had to come in and make sure the game would see the light of day.
I applaud a man with your talent for unwavering justice.
When it did, it was met with strong reviews, but sales weren't strong enough to recoup the massive debt Team Bondi racked up during development. And as such, the company had to close its doors after release.
I'm really sorry about this. I never tried to hurt anyone. I just needed to get away from LA.
Number 9, Daikatana, Ion Storm. Whoever said there's no such thing as bad publicity obviously never met John Romero. After residing at id Software during the development of influential shooters like Wolfenstein, Doom, and Quake, Romero left to start his own company, Ion Storm. The developer's first project, an FPS called Daikatana, was nothing if not overambitious, and it had a release date set for Christmas 1997. It didn't make it to store shelves until the summer of 2000, but not after an infamous print ad for the game that proclaimed that John Romero was about to make you his bitch. The delays, the ad, and the fact that Daikatana was total crap led to Romero's downfall and Ion Storm's closing in 2001.
Too bad for you! Damn.
Number 8, SimCity, Maxis Emeryville. Who thought that a city building game with an always online connection component was a good idea? Well, apparently EA and Maxis did when they were developing their new generation of the beloved city building franchise. Maxis claimed that the online components were essential to the proper functioning of the game, when in reality it did little more than act as a form of DRM. Because of this, the servers utterly fell apart when the game launched, leading to a fiasco that Maxis would never recover from. They eventually made the game playable without an internet connection in 2014, but it couldn't reverse the damage that the game had caused, resulting in EA closing down their Maxis Emeryville studio in 2015. Number 7, Lair, Factor 5.
We shouldn't be here, Ron.
Dragons are awesome. This much is clear. German developer Factor 5 perfected the dogfighting genre with the Star Wars Rogue Squadron games. This much is also clear, and the new PlayStation 3 had motion sensing technology in its controller that would fit perfectly with this type of game.
Those Mokai will learn not to attack us!
But while the combination of these three sounds like a great gaming experience, Factor 5's implementation of the 6-axis motion control left a lot to be desired, as in you weren't able to control your dragon properly.
They had a rough night. That's no excuse.
When they eventually released a patch that gave analog control, Lair turned out to be the last game Factor 5 would ever release, shutting down in 2009.
Good fighting, men. We've cut off their navy. Basilia should be safe now.
Number 6, Haze, Free Radical Design.
You ready? Brother, I was born ready.
Free Radical Design was a developer made up of staff that split from Rare in 1999. Taking an impressive legacy with them, they went on to develop the Timesplitter series. Then, in 2008, when the PlayStation 3 was facing a lack of quality original content, Free Radical released Haze for the system.
I suppose I'd better not speak then.
Shut up!
Was that you, commanding officer?
Shut up!
But instead of being the Halo killer that gamers were hoping it would be, Haze turned out to be mediocre at best, and only fun when you're able to use the drug Nectar, which is taken away halfway through the game. When Haze crashed hard, Free Radical Design was absorbed by Crytek, and eventually closed in 2014. Number 5, Project Copernicus, 38 Studios. Okay, so stomp us if you heard this one before. An MLB pitcher, a comic book artist, and a fantasy author walk into a game studio.
It's not really a surprise that now, with the company in a crisis, he couldn't find private money.
This is the story of 38 Studios, founded by former MLB pitcher Curt Schilling, who released their first game, Kingdoms of Amalur: Reckoning, in 2012 to decent reviews and decent sales. But it was during the development of their next game, an MMO codenamed Copernicus, that trouble began to brew.
Everyone's fine. Yeah.
Any layoffs?
I can't say anything.
It's a big industry. Everybody falls on their feet.
After failing to repay a $75 million loan given to them by the state of Rhode Island, 38 Studios was sued by the state and closed before Copernicus could be completed.
Curt Schilling hoped the state would provide a bailout to help the company survive. Governor Chafee declined to use any more taxpayer dollars on the foundering company.
Number 4. Tomb Raider: The Angel of Darkness. Core design. The British developer behind one of gaming's most popular characters sought to bring her into the PS2 era with a complete overhaul.
I never expected that. Not after Egypt.
Unfortunately, the choices Core Design made to try to update Lara ended up leaving her in the worst shape ever, which included unpopular stealth and strength building mechanics.
I think I'm strong enough to turn those valves.
It didn't help that publisher Eidos was rushing them to release the game essentially unfinished. When The Angel of Darkness bombed, Core Design was closed and its assets given to other studios.
What would you know about that?
Nothing that would interest you.
While Lara may live on with Crystal Dynamics, Core was sent to the tombs as a relic of a time gone by.
Well, I've never heard of you.
Ignorant martyr.
Number 3. Duke Nukem Forever, 3D Realms.
Always bet on Duke.
When a game takes 14 years to be released, it's basically guaranteed a spot on lists like this. Despite development being started mere months after its predecessor came out, Duke Nukem Forever was scheduled for a 1998 release, but that was before the first of several engine changes. 3 console generations passed, 3D Realms published some other games, and yet Forever remained in development as long as the title suggested. Eventually, the developer let the project go, leading to it finally being finished by Gearbox in 2011.
I named my daughter Duquette! I even got her tiny toy rocket launchers to play with!
While 3D Realms still technically exists, the time and financial toll the development of Duke took on them ensured that they'd never release another game again. Number 2. X-Men: Destiny, Silicon Knights.
Show yourself, Magneto! You're a coward! A people will not stand for you!
In the early 2000s, Canadian developer Silicon Knights had everything going for them, following their critically acclaimed Eternal Darkness.
Mutants are nature's greatest mistake.
Then they decided to use Epic Games' Unreal Engine for their long-in-development game 2 Human. The legal battle that ensued from Silicon Knights' engine choice began a chain of events that would result in a court ruling that all of their games that used the Unreal Engine had to be destroyed. But not before they went out in a blaze of mediocrity with their 2011 X-Men adaptation.
You've got it. Don't forget to breathe.
Destiny proved to be bland and completely unremarkable, destroying Silicon Knights' chance to end on a high note.
So what happened to you guys? The X-Men. I thought you guys were East Coast.
Reports of mismanagement within the company and severe legal troubles resulted in them declaring bankruptcy and closing in 2014.
Forgive me. Magneto, why did you do this? Can't you see we're only trying to keep the peace?
Before we reveal our top pick, here are a couple of dishonorable mentions.
Shit, it's him! It's the test subject! Engage!
Number 1. E.T. Atari.
E.T. is definitely here.
Speaking of companies having to destroy their own games, perhaps no failure is as legendary as the one that destroyed Atari and almost laid waste to the whole industry.
It's kind of gross smelling right now at the moment.
The most powerful game company in the world at the time bought the rights to Steven Spielberg's beloved film and ordered that the adaptation be ready by the holiday shopping season. aka 6 weeks away.
When I first made these games, the whole point was about entertaining people, like this right now behind me. It's still entertaining people.
Despite this, Atari was adamant in believing that the game would be a surefire hit and blew a lot of cash promoting and making it.
But the game was so bad, so unplayable, millions of copies went unsold, millions more were returned.
When the game proved to be one of the worst ever released, Atari ordered all the unsold copies of the game to be buried in the New Mexico desert, thus ending the first golden age of video games and its biggest company.
And here it is. I mean, we're here looking at the excavation, which I've never really believed this stuff would be here.
Do you agree with our list?
That is impressive.
What games do you think ruined their companies? For more top 10s published every day, be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com.
You left-wing leaning parasite. You expect me to sit here and listen to your drivel?